Bizarre Brain Comics. Warning, danger, danger, Will Robinson, danger. Hello, Gary here for Bizarre Brain Comics. This is where I like to take a look at some older comics and talk a little bit about the characters and the creators, and then examine the stories and the art. And this time, as my little friend here can tell you, we're going to be looking at Lost in Space. It's this book right here, Lost in Space, #1 from Innovation Comics. This is, what was it, 1991. No, this is not the Gold Key Lost in Space. This is tied into the TV series. So let's take a look at what the Big Book of Knowledge has to say. And Lost in Space is an American science fiction TV series created by producer Irwin Allen. It ran on the CBS network for a total of 83 episodes between 65 and 68. And it's the series of the Robinson family who crash landed and were marooned on an alien planet, and was inspired by the classic novel of the Swiss family Robinson. And it was originally supposed to be titled Space Family Robinson, but Gold Key Comics already had a comic book by that title. So they changed it. Because they already had a publishing agreement with Gold Key for Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, the publisher didn't object to Irwin Allen using the idea they had already copyrighted. And Irwin Allen didn't object then to Gold Key using Lost in Space in the subtitle of their book, Space Family Robinson, Lost in Space on Space Station 1. And of course the main part of that title that you saw on the comic at that time was then Lost in Space. Even though this was, there was the entire title. There you go. And this is #1. This is the first tie-in to the comic book tie-in, directly tied into that TV series. And this story is written by, let's see, where is it? It's scripted by Matt Thompson and Dave Campiti. Wait, I have more? Wait, I do have more. I forgot. That was just a TV series. But in the comics, in 1991, Innovation Comics, which was then a fledgling publisher, contacted Bill Mumy, who Will Robinson from the show, to consult and write for a new Lost in Space comic book, since they had just acquired the rights to the property from Irwin Allen. And Bill Mumy had already had 2 comic projects with DC and Marvel Comics fall through. This was the first officially licensed comic based on the show. And Bill Mumy wrote 6 issues of the book. And this publisher went out of business after 2 years, and the title was canceled in spite of being the publisher's best-selling title in the middle of a storyline. Several years later, Bill Mumy was finally able to complete the story in a graphic novel. So then Lost in Space #1, 1991. Innovation Comics written by Matt Thompson and David Campiti. Campiti? And is drawn by Eddy Newell and Mark Jones. There's some really nice artwork in there. There! I forgot a page. So, let's go join the Robinsons in their spacey adventures with Will Robinson and company and the robot and Lost in Space. And here we are, have a better view of that cover painting, Lost in Space, number 1, 1999. Correction, 1991. Here you can see it better. It was recreated without the everything on the front cover. Really nice painting. Now, from what I understand, from what Bill Mumy wrote in his editorial, is he is listed as Alpha Control. So he's like the inspiration, the consultant, and a writer. From what I understand, before he ever knew anything about the comic book, the people from Innovation approached him with this very painting and asked if he wanted to be involved. And he did, of course. And you may know Bill Mumy also from, he used to be in part of a band, and back in the 70s, had a few movies. But he also was one of the recurring characters. I think his name was Lanier, in Babylon 5 for several seasons. So, oh yeah, and so they approached him, and he jumped at the chance because he'd been trying to get something going for several years. First with Irwin Allen in either a TV series or a movie, and then also with comics, because he was always a big comic book fan. And he has written other stuff as well. So this is issue number 1. What I have here is the annual number 1. I think there was only a total of 18, 19 issues, something like that. I've forgotten. This is the cover of the annual number 1. This is a longer book, but you can see this is Penny. This takes place several years later. So Penny isn't just a little girl. She's about 18 or 19 years old here. That makes Judy, sister Judy, about probably in her mid to late 20s. And in the artwork, they really emphasized the sexuality of the female characters, and they didn't skimp on the looks of the male characters either. Of course, Will is still just a teenager, about 16 or so at this time, 16, 17 years old at this time. And it takes place several years after the TV show, and they've just ignored all the goofy stuff after about the first half of the first season. I mean, everything after that, with all the goofy stuff and camp, and it's basically anything in color you can forget about. And they claim in here that it's all that stuff is just stories that Penny wrote in her diary. Because it started out as a action adventure, legitimate science fiction show, but with the influence of the camp humor from Batman, they picked it up in Lost in Space, and they also picked up some of that in The Man from U.N.C.L.E., and just went to Silly Town on that. And one thing about this is, if you take a close look, you might recognize this villain, this character here. That is Miguel Ferrer. He co-wrote this particular story, and they portray him as the villain. Now, Miguel Ferrer, if you're not familiar with his name, he is an actor. You might know him best from his role in the first RoboCop movie, and he's been in other movies and TV series also, and most notably the series he co-starred in was NCIS Los Angeles, up until the time of his death, just about 10 years ago. and he was friends with Bill Mumy, and they worked together on this part because they're both big comic book fans. Okay, and we'll try to go fairly briefly here. Here you can see it's a little glossier paper right off the bat. Oh, what's going on? Well, and this is all pencil work. It looks as though there was no inks. It was all pencil work, and the two artists worked together. There's some menace right off the bat. They just landed on this planet. Something's attacking them. Robots retaliating. Some horrid monster. It's some kind of planty thing, and it busted through the all but destroyed the robot completely. Just seriously damaged the robot, and damaged the Jupiter 2 spacecraft. You can see the really nice. Now these first few pages, it is really hard to read what is actually going on. But they had just landed. They were attacked by these it's a combination of plant and monster things. Damaged the Jupiter 2. They are able to destroy them. Here you go. And see. And then they have to start getting. They have just a few hours because some more of these slow-moving critters are on the way, and they've got about 3 hours to clean it up, repair the ship, repair the robot, and get the hell out of there. Let's see here. That's Penny. That ain't like little Angela Cartwright. No, it still bears her face though. They had, for the most part, they had pretty good resemblance to the actors. And this first part, like I said, is very difficult to read. And they're trying to clean up. Penny gets samples here. Judy really sucks today. From what I understand, Bill Mumy did object to the strong sexualization of the female characters in here. But they don't skimp on the guys either. But they're just not as much as the women. And Penny is one of the scientific members of the crew now, and she is doing an analysis of the plant, and I guess there becomes a little bit of a love triangle between Penny, Judy, and Don West, the pilot, because he's the only available guy, right? So they're quickly hurrying up to do the repairs. Penny discovers that something from that plant can be used as a coating on the ship to strengthen the hull. And Dr. Smith is being Dr. Smith, only he's not quite as goofy, but he's still a little vile and cowardly. Here's the one that discovered that, and here's what I mean. You can really see the guys here also, and they're rushing against the clock. Oh, I missed the shower scene. Did I? I guess not. I guess it's later. And they're getting their spacesuits ready. Will has been repairing the robot and using some of the alien technology they've acquired over the years to upgrade him. They're quickly getting all the plant stuff out. Dr. Smith is doing what he can to avoid doing work, but he notices that while Will was repairing the robot, a memory chip popped out, and he snatched it. Said, "What's this? It doesn't belong in the robot," because he knows about the robot too. He takes it and he does some snooping in his own quarters and finds out. Well, here's in their spacesuit. There's Judy getting Dr. Smith, telling him to get ready for launch, and they're all jumping in. Got 2 minutes left. There's ahead of schedule, and then boom, they're taking off. But they know they can't achieve orbit, but they're going to get out of this area and then set down elsewhere. Now they're flying. They're safe. Seeing here, you see this isn't Don. This is Professor Robinson, and they made him pretty sexy too. And there's Penny taking care of some of her alien animals and plants and lower deck, and she's just in a skimpy bikini here. It's really nice artwork. Now, now the story, the artwork is easier to read. Panel-to-panel storytelling is much better, but those first few pages, their storytelling just sucked, I'm sorry to say. But it's some great artwork. Here they are. There's the Elder Robinsons together for a few minutes, quiet time. And then Will says, environmental control. Oh, I thought he said something about getting a room. There's one of Penny's little critters. And here's Dr. Smith working on that memory chip and seeing that there's some memory here. And this goes back to when shows some concealed footage. And this is some footage of an crashed alien spaceship, and they're acquiring some stuff. And the company that's in charge of this, they're being contracted by it, is called Irwell, which is the name Irwin Allen smushed together. And Professor Robinson was involved in some of this stuff. And then they're getting the footage shows Professor Robinson getting the expedition going to Alpha Centauri, because remember, they were going to Alpha Centauri. Even has footage of Judy, who was a glam girl. She was more of an actress and performer in Hollywood. And here's her on a talk show with some of her friends that are being kind of catty towards her. And then some more footage of confirmed bachelor Don West, and he's just a rock star in his own right as an astronaut. And then footage of the family. Here they are on the more on the talk show being catty. And then it shows footage here of even showed footage of Dr. Smith when he was being coerced by what we initially think is some foreign power, but it turns out it's some kind of aliens. He doesn't realize he's working so much for aliens. He's at first, when he was supposed to sabotage the ship, and then discovered that his being trapped on board when the Jupiter 2 launched was not an accident. It was part of their plan, because they were going to destroy the Jupiter 2 and any loose ends, and Dr. Smith was a loose end. And it even shows footage of no nukes in space and stuff. And here it goes back and shows him when he's being coerced, and these by these alien beings that have tentacles and the like. And then something's going on, and the plant sample that Penny had has sprung to life and grown. The tentacles and all the monsters are all over the place. And Dr. Smith, uncharacteristically, is kind of brave here. He grabs a laser gun and starts zapping the crap out of the plants and destroys all that. And even Don mentions, "Wow, Smith, I'm impressed." And Dr. Smith, "My dear Major, Zachary Smith is not frightened by vegetables." And they're still flying, going to get to a better place on this planet. And then I thought it had some stills. I guess that was in the back of this one. Yeah, this one had some still photographs from the TV show. Yeah. Some interesting stuff there, and general illustrations. And that's all I'm going to do about Lost in Space. I loved the show when I was a kid. It is so, later stuff is so goofy. And there was one novelization that had considerably different from the show. It was more serious and had a lot of more spacey events, more science fiction adventure events going on in that. But it was a good book. It's been years since I've read it, though. And so that's all I've got for Lost in Space. I hope you enjoyed that. Please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment. Share it with your other science fiction friends or someone who's a fan of Lost in Space. And remember, comics are art.